May 18th, 2016, Crystal Falls, Michigan. On the remote Pentoa Trail in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, investigators and K-9 officers from the Iron River Police Department are following the trail of a new lead in a 2-year-old missing persons case.
It's just a very wooded, isolated area. It's not somewhere you would necessarily stop and go out and walk around.
Suddenly, one of the K-9 units picks up a scent, leading them to a gruesome discovery.
The only thing that was found at the time was a skull and perhaps some other bone fragments.
Investigators instantly notice something more revealing in the condition of the skull: a bullet hole.
They were able to prove that, yes, a murder was committed. They really couldn't say for sure they were dealing with a murder case until they actually found that skull.
Even without a formal identification, investigators believe they've finally found the body of 53-year-old Christopher Regan.
It's not surprising that no one found Chris's remains until they actually went looking for them in May 2016.
This discovery marks the end of a 2-year search, one that spanned multiple states and multiple police departments, and involved a bizarre pact that would leave everyone in the tiny town of Iron River shaking their heads.
They didn't want to believe that a murder could happen in Iron River.
It took a long time for the pieces in this case to really come together for us to find out what really happened to Chris.
May 18th, 2016. Investigators from the Iron River Police Department have just discovered the skull of 53-year-old Chris Regan in a remote field outside of Crystal Falls, Michigan. It marks the end of a case that had begun nearly 2 years earlier, when Chris's ex-girlfriend, Terry O'Donnell, filed a missing persons report on him.
I went into the office and I noticed there was a woman standing at the front counter. This person, identified as Terry O'Donnell, was reporting her ex-boyfriend missing.
I started worrying about Chris because I hadn't heard from him. And I messaged him, and he didn't respond. And I thought, okay, well, he's busy. He just got back. I'll hear from him on the weekend. I thought maybe he wasn't responding because he brought someone with him that was a female, and he wouldn't text me if he had somebody else with him.
However, Terry says that it wasn't like Chris to not respond for 10 days.
Sergeant Barrett took my statement, and then she said, they'll go ahead and look into it.
A lot of times, a missing person would be a couple days and it'd be found elsewhere. So it was unusual for it to be a 2-week period of time that he was missing.
Terry tells investigators that Chris had recently been hired by a company in Asheville, North Carolina.
One idea of why Chris had gone missing was maybe he just moved out there earlier.
We determined where he was going to be working, and that company was contacted the next day. And I asked if they had received any calls from Chris Regan. He was supposed to have reported to them. They had no word from him.
If he didn't already move to North Carolina, maybe Chris embarked on one last outdoor excursion before starting his new job.
Maybe Christopher was hiking or biking somewhere and got injured or fell.
Iron County is an incredibly rural area. It's full of dense forests. It's not uncommon to have people go hiking there and sometimes don't come back.